Hi guys, and welcome back to another Only One Hotspur podcast. Today it's just me and Wes, and we are going to be reviewing the West Ham game from the other night. Obviously ended in a 2-0 win for us. So, Wes, what are your general thoughts on the game?
General thoughts. I think for me, it was a very underwhelming performance yet again. I think the points, the fact we got 3 points, I think that mattered the most. And I just think I think the game itself going into it was more, we just needed the 3 points, and no matter how we got them, we just needed to get them. And I don't think we needed a performance as such, perhaps like we did against Man United. I think we needed the performance as well as the points, given our record against top six clubs isn't the greatest. So yeah, I mean the game itself for me was very poor. West Ham, as I pretty much said on the preview, we're going to sit in, make it difficult for us. Weren't going to be expansive, free flowing or anything like that. I actually thought they didn't look too bad on the counter attack. Looked to cause us a couple of problems. I know they didn't particularly get many shots away at goal, but there were certainly times when you thought they could have done something. But luckily we managed to snuff that out. But yeah, I think we really struggled to break them down. A lot of sidewards, backwards passing, not a lot of rotation in the midfield. So yeah, it was a bit of I think the performance itself and the football was a bit of a throwback to the AVB days and sort of the latter part of Poch's time, where the football wasn't great. We wasn't crisp, we wasn't sharp. And I know everybody's going to use the excuse of we're just sort of feeling our way back in, but I mean, I've seen other teams that are looking sharp and are looking good and have had the same amount of time off as us. So yeah, I think, like I say, the performance wasn't great at all, but glad to get the 3 points in the end.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, to be honest. I think we was far too passive. There was no one trying to make something happen. Like especially that first half, I think I probably could have fallen asleep if it wasn't us playing. Say if it was just a general game of football, and it weren't Tottenham, I think I generally would have just ended up switching it off, like because it was that boring of a game. Obviously, I never would because it is Tottenham.
Good man.
But that's my point. I think a lot of people probably would agree with that. I think there's only a couple of points what I can really pick out from that first half where it looked like we was trying to make something happen. Obviously, one of them was the goal. What was disallowed was that little bit of magic from Gio to then feed in Son, and that was really the only one we saw. But there was one part in the first half where Lucas got the ball, not fully out wide. It's just sort of coming in, sort of like the corner of the 18-yard box, and he should have taken on his man. He should have taken on his man one-on-one. I'm pretty sure it was Cresswell at that time, and I would fancy I'd back Lucas all day against Cresswell. But then he stopped and sort of passed it back inside, and then obviously that then lets West Ham regroup, reset. And I just think if you're running at players when you've got the opportunity, that's going to then make them out of position. That's going to cause them worry, And I really didn't get that. And then 2 minutes later, he gets it on the edge of the box, and then he's wanting to make something happen when they're all set. So he has that long shot, which wasn't a bad long shot, to be fair to him. But I think there was a few players who I think could have done that bit more on the night. I just think it was very passive. Not, it just needed a bit of spark, and there wasn't many players who were trying to give that spark. I agree with you on that. West Ham didn't look too bad, to be fair, which pains me to say because I never want to give them a compliment, but they did look solid. They didn't give us much at all, and I think they probably looked at us and thought, we struggle to break teams down because we do. that's one thing what we really need to work on. Like if you look at the players we have on the pitch, they should be able to break players down. You know, your Lucas, your Son, your Kane, your Lo Celso, like your Delhi. You know, they should be able to break teams down, but it's just too many touches on the ball. You know, they're getting the ball into feet all the time, not trying to make the runs. And that's it. There was another one where I think Delhi had the ball and he was sort of going up the left-hand side. I think it was from a West Ham corner as well, or something like that. So it could have been a quick counter. And then Son was pretty much jogging alongside him. And if Son had made a sprint, he would have been up against Souček. And I would have fancied Son in a foot race against him any day of the week. So I think it was just, I don't know why it was. Obviously, happy to get them 3 points. Anyway, but yeah, I think it wasn't an underwhelming performance. I agree with you on that. But it's still be an underwhelming performance. Who would you say the key players were in the game for either side?
Well, starting with West Ham, I think Fabianski key for West Ham. He's never really let them down in his time.
He only let them down for that Liverpool game, didn't he? Where West Ham were winning. And
yeah, I think if you can give or take a game or two, but I think by and large he's been very reliable for West Ham, and has probably been the best player since he's joined, arguably. I thought West Ham overall were probably pretty poor. Obviously they set up to stay in the game. I would have thought for a long period of time, and then try and nick something if it was 0-0 or 1-0. But yeah, like I say, I think Fabianski was key for them. Antonio looked okay, gave them a little something up top. Didn't really have much around him. Yeah, I was expecting more from Noble because it's a game that he usually turns up, and he only turns up 4 times a season, and that's against us home and away and against Chelsea home and away, which are West Ham's bigger games really in the league. So yeah, I was expecting more from him. I thought Rice done okay. I've seen a lot of Spurs fans ranting and raving about Declan Rice and wanting him in as that ball-winning midfielder. Don't know how I feel about that. I see Declan Rice in a West Ham shirt, he looks okay. I see him in an England shirt, he looks out of place. So yeah, it's one of those for me really, Declan Rice. But yeah, I think those were probably key for West Ham. From a Spurs perspective, I think Lo Celso had a really good game. I know we're going to come on to somebody's thoughts on Lo Celso a little bit later. But no, I think Lo Celso done well. He was trying to get on the ball, trying to make things happen, trying to play those probing passes through. I think Lucas was a threat. He's got an abundance of pace, which I think's always going to be dangerous. It's just how he goes about using it. Aurier was always an outlet. Can't cross a road, bless him, but he's always an outlet. So yeah, I think Serge was okay. I think defensively still needs work. But I think going forward, he looked a bit of an outlet and a bit of a threat. Like I say, he can't cross a road, never mind a football. So it was one of those really. Sonny looked better than Friday in comparison to Friday. But I think there's still more to come from Sonny. I think our subs made a difference. Bergvin and Lamela coming on. It's a difficult one with Lamela because he'll put in a performance and you think, right, he should start the next game. He starts and then doesn't have that same impact as he would coming on as a sub. So it's always a bit of a strange one with Lamela. Bergvin done all right when he come on, as I said. Kane got his goal finally. There was I don't think there's really any doubt when Kane's through 1-on-1. I think 9 times out of 10 he does slot those away. But yeah, I think those were probably the standout players for me. You could mention Dyer. I think he marshalled Antonio quite well. Antonio's an awkward player to play against for me. He's all arms and legs and stuff. I think Dyer marshalled him really, really well. And yeah, I think Dyer in the last 2 games especially has been fantastic, and probably one of our better players. So yeah, those are the guys who I'd say were key for both sides. I don't know what your thoughts on it are.
Yeah, I think I think West Ham's defensive unit were good as a unit. I can't really pick out individual performances as such, because I don't think it was individual performances. I think it was as a unit, they were very solid, didn't let us get that much space. I think, as you were saying with Mark Noble, I think that yellow card early on in the game impacted his game, because he wants to be flying into tackles, trying to set the tempo of the game, but he couldn't then do that, because if he went flying into a challenge slightly late, he's off. So I think that was a big thing for West Ham, to be honest. I think if he wouldn't have been booked early on, it could have maybe been slightly different. I think, I don't know, just West Ham, they just were a bit, they were just there. Like, they didn't really, they had a couple of opportunities, but, like Fornal should have done better again with his opportunity. Like, he missed a big one against Wolves, he missed a big one against us. Everyone was raving about him when they signed him, because he had a good, was it under 20 or under 21
Under
championship
21 Euros,
for Spain?
for Spain, yeah.
And I'm not even going to lie, I saw a few things from him. I thought, oh, he does look an all right player, but against us, he didn't really look like much. I think they probably should have ended up starting Lanzini, because I think Lanzini in them sort of games does do well. But then for us, obviously, Gio, Si Senor, beautiful. Like, as I said, I think in the first half, he was the one trying to make it happen. He was picking up the ball, trying to feed them passes in, trying to, make something happen that bit more than anyone else. And I just love to see that. Like that bit of skill, what he done to slip Sonny in, which then was unfortunately offside, was absolute filth, like unreal. And then that little bit in the second half as well, from, I think, was it a West Ham attack or something? He's just come out and just like, I'll just go through this little bit. Come on, take me on. No, yeah, easy. Like, unreal. Like, how he still hasn't got a goal or an assist in a Premier League game is beyond me, because it's just his overall performances have been really good, like, lately. And obviously, we are all getting excited to see more of him, because we know he can still offer that bit more. For me, I don't think Lucas did offer us that much. I think Lucas didn't have a good game. As I said, I think his decision making is not the best. I think it's fair to say, not just on this game, on quite a few games, I don't rate his decision making. Obviously, I absolutely love the guy, but I think, but ahead, yeah, but I can't see him being a regular starter now. I do think Stevie's come in and done a fantastic job. Like, when he came on the other night, he was fantastic again. Like, he just always offering something, and he's direct as well. And I just love the guy. I think you're fair to say Son, slight improvement, but didn't offer loads still. I think Kane was starting to look sharp. Obviously, starting to find that rhythm that bit more. Before he got his goal, you could tell he was getting a few tasters in. And, he looked hungrier. Which is great to see. And obviously, as you said, when he's 1-on-1, you might as well just stop, just say, put the ball in the centre of the circle, and let's just go. Save them few seconds.
Let's hope the goal stands, though. By the way.
Oh yeah, of course. But yeah, I think with Dyer as well, he had another great performance. I think in that he's really finding that centre half. He's making that centre half role his own. I think Jose's probably looking at that and thinking, I'm going to struggle to take him out of that team. What excuse can you really give? That little foul on Pogba, but then he's then come into a game, look mature, look like he's made all the right decisions, had a really good game. So he'll be starting against Sheffield United as well. I'm sure on that. I think I agree with you on Lamella as well. When he comes off the bench, he does look a different player most of the time. I absolutely love. We both love the guy.
Yeah.
We speak about him a fair bit, and we think we echo in saying that he offers us something different to some of the other players. He's got that fight in him. He's got that. He always wants to make something happen. He's always looking forward. And I was talking to someone before the United game actually, and I was saying, I think that Miller will start. It looks like he's done quite well in this little pre-season, whatever it was. And to be fair to him, even he said, there's just something not quite there when he starts a game. It is normally when he comes off the bench where he has more of an impact. So I think that's across the fan base where we all think that. And obviously, yeah. But going on to sort of like talking points as well from the game, I think we've got to start with our first goal as well, because obviously there's been a lot of controversy with that. Obviously, David Moyes absolutely fuming, asking like, who's on VAR, who's on VAR. And to be fair, I can obviously see his point. It is a hard one, especially from the angles what we've seen. But yeah, what are your thoughts, especially on that first goal?
I can see why Moyes isn't happy, because they've had a goal ruled out away at Sheffield United for something fairly similar. Obviously in different parts of the pitch, but a fairly similar sort of thing. And when coaches, managers, fans, people involved in the game talk about consistency in refereeing and refereeing standards, that's what we mean. If you get one decision given one way, but then a couple of weeks, or in this case a few months later, a similar incident occurs, but yet one gets let go and the other one doesn't, that's where I think people are a bit confused. But then I think it's the rule that is proving to be the grey area. I think that's the one that needs tweaking and changing rather than VAR itself. I've spoken before on VAR, and I think we've got it completely different to other leagues that use it, because I almost feel like whenever a decision goes to VAR, it's being re-refereed, and it shouldn't be, because that final decision should always be with the on-field referee, not somebody stuck in an office or a booth or a truck.
Yeah.
So I think for any VAR incident, the referee has to go to the pitch side monitor for me. And then he can gauge, from his point of view, if it's a goal, if it's not a goal, if it's offside or not, if it's, handball, all of these kind of red card, all of these types of decisions that VAR was brought in for. I believe then that the referee has the final say, which is what we want, and not the game being re-refereed by somebody else. I think though, from the angles that VAR were given, they couldn't determine whether it had come off of Sanchez's arm or not. It's only the Sky replays that show that it comes off of Sanchez's arm. I don't think he knows too much about it anyway. But yeah, I think West Ham can feel slightly aggrieved given they've had previous go against them. I think it's. But then David Moyes said he didn't really know about it until after the game anyway, because I think now on the benches they've got a tablet, whatever you want to call it, that can show different things during games. I think had he seen it sort of there and then or whatever, he might have felt differently, or he might have felt the same. Who knows? But yeah, I think West Ham can feel slightly aggrieved given that they've had previous. I don't know what your thoughts on our first goal are. So I'm keen to
Yeah,
hear those.
yeah. Um, I, I think it is a bit harsh. I think that David Moyes, to be fair to him, he said he doesn't like that rule. I think that is the common message. It's the rule, not VAR. And to be fair, I think Moyes was quite honest with that. I think he was, sort of going along the lines of, that's the rule what's in place. We don't like it because he hasn't meant to. He has not meant to do that. If but it has. So if it has come off an arm leading towards a goal, it shouldn't count. It should be tweaked. It'll be interesting to see if they do it at the end of the season, because I think there's been a few incidents like this. Like it was, I remember when we played Watford at home as well. Obviously, all that around Delhi's goal. I remember getting into a conversation with a Watford fan about that, and he was saying the same. He was going, the rule isn't good. It's a load of nonsense. Because if you can't mean it and your body isn't, and you're not deliberately trying to handball it, then what can you do? Especially from a close range, or if you've been pulled, or something like that. It's just taking natural elements out of the game, and it's just going to be like we're all robots on the pitch. And I think your comments on VAR itself are very, very true as well. Other leagues do it so different. We haven't seen a referee go and have a look at the onside monitors, and I think that's a load of nonsense. It's like, what is the point of having that referee on the pitch? What's the point? If you've got someone at Stockley Park or whatever, you might as well just have them refereeing the game. When something happens, just get them to send a message across or whatever to like the fourth official. Like, what's the point? Like, there's literally it doesn't seem to be a point. Like, and I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of VAR. Anyway, I just think it takes away that element of natural football, like making mistakes. Yeah, we've been so used to it. Obviously, VAR sometimes goes for you, goes against you still, but there's still all that controversy around it, and there shouldn't be controversy around it. It's a video assistant referee. How it's still making mistakes is beyond me.
I
don't think this was.
I think the system itself is fine. I think it's the people that are using it, and the leagues, what they're implementing in terms of rules, and things like that. I think that's what needs to change, because I think the system itself can work. I'm not saying I'm a fan of VAR. I'm not saying I hate VAR, but the system itself, I think, is actually fine. It's like I say, the referees that are using it need better training on it. I think as well the rules set by the league on how they implement VAR needs to change 100%, because we've got one version of it here, but in Champions League and Europa League games they've got a different version. In Serie A they've got a different version. The MLS have got a different version. Surely it's the same. It should be the same across every league, whereby these are what you go by, and this is what you check, if for any incidents, and then, as I mentioned, that on-pitch referee has to have the final say. So they have to, for me, they have to go to that pitch side monitor, as we saw in the Champions League at City away. Right, two massive decisions, two massive calls. Right, can you imagine those two in the Premier League? would those decisions have actually gone the same way? I guarantee you, Llorente's goal does not stand under the Premier League's version of VAR. Guarantee it. Sterling's one offside, okay, but it's the fact that the referee has gone to check. So you can sort of go, right, he's checking something. As a fan, you go, he is checking something. We might not be 100% sure what it is. So we either need to see the replays of what they are checking when fans are in stadiums and stadia, or you get the message of VAR checking penalty or red card or whatever. So the messages need to be clearer. But like I say, can you imagine those two incidents in the Champions League with the Premier League's version of VAR? That's my reasoning as to why the referee. That's my rationale, if you like, for the referees using the pitch side monitor, because he's the one that knows what's going on in that game, in that moment. He's feeling all the emotion of the game. Yes, all the fans are going to be nervous and on edge because we're wondering, what's going to, could it go for us? Could it go against us? Luckily, in that particular Champions League game, they went for us. But yeah, I think, the referee, at least he went to the monitor, made the call, and then it's down to that on-pitch referee. He's got to live and die by the decisions that he makes on the pitch, which was done. Referees have been doing that before VAR came in. Rightly or wrongly, they might get decisions wrong, they might get them right, but they've got to live and die by the decisions that they make on the pitch, whether that is helped and aided by VAR or not, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely see your point, and I don't, as you said, I don't think it should just be FA saying how it should work or anything. I just think FIFA, UEFA, whoever it has to be, just go, right, all the leagues, this is how we do it, done and dusted. Don't tweak it. We do this. If it goes wrong in one game or something, we might have a look at it, and then that certain instance, and then work it out for all, for all leagues, because the rules aren't different over in Italy or something. You can't handball the ball over there. You can't put someone in the face. Do you know what I mean? So like, what? So why does it have to be so different? Like, I completely agree with you, and I just think it is taking the responsibility away from the refs. I just think they're always thinking, if I make a mistake, they're gonna override me.
And I think as well, Joe, with the Champions League games against City, if you look at the first leg, the penalty that Aguero got, again, would that have been given if via a Premier League VAR? Would that penalty have been given?
Yeah, but I think
it's probably a question without an answer, but you can. That's the line of thinking that I'm going, and the point I'm trying to make here is that again, the referee went to the pitch side monitor, he checked, he then deemed it to be handball. All right, it's penalty. Whether we think it's harsh or not, penalty, and then we live by it. Luckily for us, Hugo saved it on that night, not the first penalty he saved against City, of course. But he saved it. So yeah, but at least that referee, again, he made a call and he stuck by it, and the game went on. There's just too much stop-start with VAR, and like I say, the referee or the person in control of VAR is re-refereeing situations and incidents, as opposed to going, look. So for Sanchez's one, you go, look, possible handball by Sanchez for the goal. Go to the pitch side monitor, have a look. That's all. That's it then. Then the referee goes, he checks it. He might deem it handball. He might deem it not handball. All right. If he does deem it handball, obviously the goal doesn't stand. If he doesn't deem it handball, we get the goal. Either way, there's more clarity for players, for the officials in my eyes, and for the coaches and the managers and coaching staff. More clarity, because then right, well, the referee's made that call, not somebody else in Stockley Park has made that call. The referee on the day has made that call, not, again, like I say, not somebody else.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and but I am still struggling to get behind it. the whole VAR. Obviously, gone a bit off topic here, but um, but I just think it takes emotion out of the game sometimes. And like I remember when we both went Leicester away together.
Yeah.
I know it's a slightly different one where it was an offside, but obviously we scored. Everyone started celebrating, and I remember I was like, "Hold up, there might have been an offside in there." So then I didn't really celebrate. But then, say if your team scores, you might not celebrate as much. Even if last minute goal or something like a goal mail scramble, or up against your rivals, you might be like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to celebrate yet because it might be ruled out." And then when it does get ruled a goal about 5 minutes later, or whatever, you're like, "Oh, yeah, yeah." Right. Do you know what I mean? It's not the same emotion, and that's a big thing for me because I think that's why we all enjoy football. It's the emotion we get out of it, the joys, the ups and downs. Every team has ups and downs. Um, you know, and I just think we are losing a little bit of that. Obviously, that's a completely different debate. Obviously, there's for VAR and against, and obviously, I do see the fours for it. Don't get me wrong. I think, especially offsides, because I think they are simple, like to get right. They still haven't got all of them right. I don't think with hands and arms being offside, but which absolutely baffles me. By the way, okay, his arms offside. Yeah, no goal. Yeah, BA. You can score. Just punch it in now. Anyway, you can tell it's quite a passionate topic for me.
Yeah.
I just think it's something what could be so simple, but they have complicated it so much.
I agree.
Like, I'm not being funny. Like, I could get my brother down at like Stockley Park or something doing a better job than some of these. Hey, Lewis, you think this is a goal? Yeah, go on. Like, and he's 14, and like, they just But yeah, I think we should move on from this topic, to be honest.
We could be here a while otherwise.
Yeah, you never know. It might be a future episode talking about VAR. Probably will be something else before VAR in the next game against Sheffield United. Let's face the facts. But would you say there's any other massive talking points from the game? Because I think that has been the main one what's come out. And obviously, yeah.
I think talking points from Kane being back, scoring again, putting that in the things we'll have to see category for sure.
Love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. His celebration was an interesting one as well. I think he was a bit knackered, bless him. So yeah, I think that was obviously a massive bonus for us. Couldn't have come at a better time as well, given Paul Merson's comments on not only Harry Kane but Jose Mourinho. And I think that's just one where you go, you stick up a two fingers to Paul Merson there, and stuff.
You just slide the laptop across to him to watch the goal. Oh, there we go, nice. There's a goal for you.
Yeah. So that again, no Ndombele. Rumours circulating that he's come to Mourinho and said that he doesn't want to play for him anymore, and stuff like that. And
what are your thoughts?
It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one because Jose broke lockdown rules to do a training session with Ndombele. Jose has spoken highly of Ndombele. But in typical Jose style and Jose fashion, he speaks highly of somebody to see how they react. Has Ndombele reacted in the right way to those comments? I don't know. It appears not, unless Jose's wanting to play a different way in these opening two games. I think the thing is, because the games, like every game for us now, is so crucial. I don't think we're in that moment, that place where we can chuck somebody in and see how they get on anymore. We're not in that element of the season, because every game, like I say, is crucial. Every 3 points matters so much. Don't get me wrong, I love Ndombele. I think he is probably one of the technically the best footballers that we've got at the club. The amount of ability he's got is ridiculous. But we've only seen it in flashes.
Yeah.
If we were to part ways, which I must admit I can't see, by the way, but if we were, somebody's going to get a very, very good player, and he will probably flourish at another club. Um, I don't see Daniel Levy parting ways, given the fact he just spent 63 million on him. He's not going to let him go easy. I did see a rumor that he was Barcelona were looking at a loan deal for him, and I think whoever was reporting that needs to go and spend 5 minutes, just five, with Daniel Levy to work out that he knows who our chairman is then. But yeah, I think Tongi will get his chance eventually. It's just a case of when. I don't think as well, in both of the games, the state of the game was right for him. They've both been very, very tight, cagey affairs. And Ndombele takes a lot of risks on the ball, which might go for us, but it can also go against us sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's the type of player that he is. And yeah, like I said, I think, I've also seen rumours that we're almost waiting to buy that ball-winning midfielders for then Mourinho to play more of a 4-3-3 to then get Ndombele and then either Lo Celso or Dele to play in that team together. I don't think you can play Ndombele and Winks together. I don't really think you can play him and Sissoko together or him and Lo Celso. He does need a ball-winning midfielder next to him.
Yeah.
He probably needs Eric Dyer from the full year that he had in midfield where he was by and large he was excellent. Or he needs the last season White Hart Lane Victor Wanyama or Moussa Dembele next to him in order to get the best out of him. Do I see Ndombele playing as a number 10 potentially? No, because we've got Dele in there, and I think Dele is Jose's man in that position. As much as Dele, so as long as Dele's available, Jose will play him in that number 10 role. So yeah, I think it's such an interesting one with Ndombele because I think if it's any other footballer at the club, you'd probably say hook him and cut your losses and get rid. But I think because we know his talent, number one, he hasn't really had an opportunity to really show what he's about and have a run of games to display it. And the fact he's our record signing, it's one of those whereby I think it's a lot of fans are 50-50, but I do think we've bought a different midfield player to what everybody expected. I think everybody expected him to be a real powerhouse, a bit of a mix of Yaya Toure and Moussa Dembele, that kind of player, when actually he's a bit more of a technician and a bit more of a technical player. Don't get me wrong, he can win the ball back and he can tackle and stuff like that, but I think his technical ability outweighs his physical attributes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and I personally think these rumours are a load of rubbish because I think if any player goes to Jose Mourinho, yeah, I don't want to play for you anymore, you are not getting on that bench. You are not getting on that bench ahead of, if he's gone and said that and he's on the bench ahead of Skip or whatever, because obviously Jose Mourinho has been praising Skip, obviously sort of citing him one for the future. There's no way Ndombele would be on that bench ahead of players who Mourinho can see in the future. So I just think it's people in France just starting that rumour mill just because he hasn't started again. And I saw on Football London pretty much saying before the game, if Ndombele doesn't start or play, get ready for all the rumours coming again. And straight after the game, it happened. So I think, I was expecting it, and I just sort of read it. I thought, and I literally read it, sent it straight to you. I was like, and that was it. And I think that my thought process left that because that is just a load of rubbish. And I'm not too worried about it. As you said, I think we need that player to play alongside him. That we don't have the players in the team to let him thrive. Um, so I think Jose Mourinho is waiting. It'll be interesting to see next season what then happens. Obviously, as we have both said, we don't think like Sissoko's good enough. So you know, I think there'll be a few changes to the lineup next season. I'm hoping. So it'll be interesting to see if Ndombele is a fixture in that lineup, because obviously, say if you do have to go for 4-3-3, you've got that ball-winning midfielder. You've got, say if you've got Ndombele, what one are you leaving out between Lo Celso and Dele?
You can throw Harry Winks into the equation.
Yeah, exactly.
As well. I mean, it's a lovely headache for any coach, any manager. I wouldn't want to be in that position. That is for sure. But yeah, no, obviously, no Ndombele was a big talking point. I think we've got a bit of an advantage now in the fact we've got a bit of a break before our next game. So,
yeah.
Players that might be slightly fatigued you would anticipate would be up to a bit more fitness, so yeah. Like I say, I think no Ndombele was a big one because everybody's waiting to see him. See him play, but he just hasn't had his chance yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. To be fair, and yeah, there wasn't really too many talking points from the game. Obviously, Harry Kane scoring, playing. Starting to look a bit fresher again. The Ndombele stuff, sort of around the game, and obviously their first goal. Apart from that, there wasn't many talking points. It was quite a straight, a basic game. So yeah, I guess we'll just move on to the next part, which is your man of the match. Who was it?
Man of the match. I mean, the man that got it has to be in the equation. Lo Celso. Yeah, just providing a little bit of quality in moments where we needed him to produce. I think since he's really had a run of games in the team, I think he's been fantastic for us. I think, the way he's played and the way he's gone about the way he's played has been excellent. Stepped up massively, especially just before lockdown. And he was really the only kind of shining light in any game, despite the fact we were, in a big rut and in bad form. But you always felt that he put in a shift or he put in a good performance. Works hard for the team as well. Can spot a good pass. Can keep it simple when he needs to as well. Covers the ground quite well as well, which I quite like about him.
Yeah.
Because he is quite a technical and quite a flair player. So usually those types of players don't do that sort of stuff, but he seems to be able to do it. Got a little bit of grit and a bit of fight. He's quite a fiery sort of player as well, especially off the ball. I think he must have got that from Lamela in his short time that he's been at the club. So no, Gio, loving Gio at the minute. And stuff. So yeah, I thought he was excellent. I also think again Eric Dyer was superb. I know I got slated by somebody for saying that Eric Dyer was our man of the match against Man United. And in the end, I just sort of said, look, that's your opinion, and I respect that. So yeah, but I think for me, Eric Dyer again was fantastic. Didn't really give Antonio too much of a sniff. Becoming a real leader at the back, which is what we've missed this season, especially. I don't think Toby's done it often enough. If I look at Alderweireld, he's a big guy. He's a big guy. Like you expect him to be leading that back line. I don't think he's done it. So yeah, again, Eric Dyer for me was superb in marshalling that back line, demanding more from his teammates as well, which I always love. I love it when players demand the best from each other and stuff like that. Just shows a really, really good mentality, in my opinion. And yeah, I think Dyer's probably been our best player in these 2 games by and large. So yeah, if I was to pick between Dyer and Lo Celso, I'd probably I know Sky gave it to Lo Celso, but for me, I'd give it to Dyer personally.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on terms. It was between them two. I think Dyer, as I've said, making that position his own. If he's not starting against Sheffield United, I think I'm actually going to be a bit nervous because he's very vocal, which we can see. And I think we've always seen as a leader in Dyer.
Yeah.
And I agree with you on the Toby statement. He doesn't seem to do it as much as he should. And I think you definitely need a leader as a centre half. You can't have 2 defenders who aren't a leader or who aren't vocal enough. Because say if there's someone making a mistake in front of you, you want one of your centre backs to be letting them know that does not happen again. You pull your socks up, you sort it out, because then it won't happen again. And I think that is vital. And as I agree, I think Dyer has been our best player over the 2 games. He's been fantastic. He can play passes from the back as well, which I absolutely love. But I think for this game, I just give it to Gio, because I think he was the one just trying to create stuff. He was always trying to make something happen. And I think, say, if we didn't have him in that game, I don't think we would have ended up winning. I just think he gave us that fight. He gave us that to go forward. And I actually love it how he's got that fight in him as well. Because obviously he knew exactly what he was doing up against Mark Noble. He knew Mark Noble would bring him down. And then did you see a few minutes later, I think Mark Noble just played a pass a couple of seconds later, Lo Celso went, yeah, I won't be back, mate. Just taking out Noble, doesn't get booked for it, which you absolutely love to see. But he lets people know that he's there as well. He's not afraid of anyone, and I absolutely love it. It's that Argentinian fire. Like Gazaniga's got it, Lamella's got it. It's something in their blood. I just think they're absolutely mental, and I absolutely love it. Like you wouldn't want to mess with any of them 3. I don't think. Say if you was walking down the street and you saw them 3 together, I think and they didn't look in a good mood, I'd be a bit scared, to be perfectly honest with you. But yeah, I think absolutely. I think he had a fantastic performance. Obviously, everyone's getting quite hyped up about him as well, and I don't think people get hyped up about a player like we have with Lo Celso if we don't see something special, because I think our fan base on the whole can be a bit harsh at times as well. But I have not seen any harsh comments about Lo Celso, to be honest. Even like he hasn't got a goal or assist in the league yet, but that doesn't really bother us, because we can, he's working so hard. He's still creating stuff off the ball. He's still creating stuff before them stats come into place, which I find interesting and good. Obviously, he was close to getting an assist against West Ham, technically, for that corner. Let's just chuck that one to him to break the duck.
And the Sonny goal that got ruled out as well for offside.
Yeah, exactly.
There.
Yeah, exactly. But obviously, you mentioned Sky first, saying that's
Here
who.
we go.
And I know just before we both get started, this is the moment where you pause this, go and get the popcorn, because it's going to start to get a bit tasty. Because Wes to start off with here is going to go on one. So if I fall asleep, I'm sorry. Go on, Wes.
Well, this is going to be a Roy Keane style rant, I think, with Sky, because their coverage of Tottenham is a joke, in my opinion. It's an actual joke. And and I'm not just saying since the restart, I think it's been a few years where any little slight opportunity to take a dig at Tottenham, they are all over it. And it's wrong, in my opinion. Like, so wrong. Like, no other club gets treated by Sky in the way that Tottenham do, in my opinion. The United game, you've got Evra, Man United, Roy Keane, Man United, Gary Neville, Man United. Did they not realise that two teams play? Do you know what I mean? And then the other night, you've got Jamie Redknapp, who apparently used to play for us. I think he just used to pick up his paycheck. I think he was out for 6 weeks once because he stubbed his toe on the end of a table. Still bitter at the fact we sacked his dad as well. For me, is one of the worst pundits that I've ever seen. Half the time tries to be something that he's not. He's trying so hard to almost be like his dad. But yeah, his dad is just that one step ahead and one step better than him, and always will be, in my opinion. So yeah, Redknapp is awful. I won't tell you the name that I call him because there might be some kids watching this. You've got Bobby Zamora, who granted used to play for us, but was absolutely pony for us. We shipped him off to West Ham, and he ended up doing a little bit, but is a West Ham fan by and large. You've got Alan Smith, who used to play for Arsenal on co-coms. Like, I just don't get it. And anything relating to a racism issue, Sky, the first picture you will see from Sky is outside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, because it's the most recent racism case where actually nothing got proved. Why don't they show Stamford Bridge, where stuff has been proved from that club time and time again, I must admit, but they get away with it. The way they pulled us apart for that game was ridiculous, because nothing had actually been proved at that point. It was just an allegation. But Sky absolutely tore us apart. Did they tear Chelsea apart after their fans abused Raheem Sterling? No. Did in other cases of racism that have happened, do they tear clubs apart in the same way that they tear Tottenham apart? Absolutely not. They're even doing, Sky, if Liverpool or if City, or if I think it's the next game or whatever, they've got a program dedicated to Liverpool winning the league. What's all that about? Like, what is all that about? Honestly, City won the league with 100 points that hasn't been bettered. I didn't see a half an hour program for them. I know it's going to pay me to say this, but the other lot down the road went a whole season unbeaten. Didn't see a half an hour program for them. Do you know what I mean? They're just so, Liverpool. It's ridiculous. And I'm not a fan of their coverage at all. I think if they didn't have such a monopoly on football, I would tell them to shove it, basically. But because they got such a monopoly on it, you kind of have to have it, because if there's a game that you can't make and it's going to be on TV, obviously you want to watch it. But I can see why people are on these dodgy streams watching it, because the coverage is probably a lot better, and stuff like that. I mean, I'd rather us be on BBC, because I know we have at least Gary Lineker presenting, who used to play for us. I know he's big on Leicester, but he does stick up for us sometimes. Danny Murphy used to play for us, and it didn't actually go too well for him at Tottenham, Danny Murphy, but he always sticks up for us at least. And Jermaine Genius, who I know he gets a lot of stick from people, but actually, again, he's ex-Tottenham, spent the bulk of his career at Tottenham, sticks up for us, praises us when we need to be praised, and has a go at us when we need to be having a go at. BT, you've got, again, Genius, who do some bits for them, and Glenn Hoddle. Now, any Spurs fan of a certain generation loves Glenn Hoddle. He's my dad's favourite player ever. He calls him God. Do you know what I mean? So, it's, if I'm talking and he's on the TV, he's telling me to be quiet because, God's on TV. and Sky's coverage is just so bad as well. Like, I don't know if you watched the last Liverpool game against Palace, but they had Souness in the studio, they had Redknapp in the studio, they had John Barnes at Anfield, and they had Jamie Carragher on co-coms. Again, I don't see that level of coverage for any other team but Liverpool. They're just and everything that they've reported on recently is all to do with Liverpool winning the league. But there's other things going on in the world and in football that they can report on, but they just want to stick to Liverpool because, you know, they're just biased towards. I don't know if one of the main guys at Sky is a Liverpool or an Arsenal fan or a Chelsea fan, West Ham. You know, they don't like Tottenham for whatever reason. But yeah, it's just so annoying and so frustrating that, you know, we're having to put up with this as fans. I think people have had enough, really. You know, Martin Tyler's commentary the other night, jeez, what is he waffling on about half the time? You're just like, yeah, cheers, Martin. Like, do your job, as Roy Keane would say, do your job, and you know, commentate on the game. You know, I don't really want to be knowing about, you know, irrelevant facts and stats. Just tell me what's going on in the game. You know, I think it's only for the enhanced crowd noise at the minute that I'm sort of leaving the TV audio on. Just to try, I'm watching it with the enhanced fan noise to try and, you know, replicate a tiny bit of what, you know, watching from the TV on a match day would be like. But no, Sky's coverage of Tottenham is ridiculous, and it's like any chance to have a sly dig is ridiculous. Like, you know, Chelsea versus City, right? Got nothing to do with us at all. But what's Sky's narrative? Oh, well, Chelsea helped one side win the league. Can they help another side? Can they help Liverpool win the league? Because they helped Leicester do it when we went there. And you're like, well, why are you bringing that up? It's, you know, it's Chelsea v City, right? If Chelsea get a positive result, Liverpool win the league. That's it. If City win, it goes to the next game. That's all you have to report on. You don't have to keep spinning all this stuff all the time, and it's actually driving me mental. As you can probably tell, I've had a decent rant, I've had a decent go, and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just so bad. But I think as a club, I was actually glad when the press officer outed a journalist for shutting down any questions from Pochettino going to Man United in a press conference. That shouldn't be happening. That's like, we're just standing up for the manager that we had at the time, and quashing any rumours that he was going anywhere. Like, honestly, the media's agenda against Tottenham is ridiculous. I think there's only a handful of pundits that probably actually like us and stick up for us. And like I say, it's probably Danny Murphy, Jermaine Genius, Glenn Hoddle, Gary Neville. Now I'm struggling. Do you know what I mean? Darren Bent hates us. Darren Bent hates us. He used to play for us. He was one of our record signings at one point, believe it or not, and he still hates us. So yeah, I think, yeah, for me, Sky's coverage of Tottenham is atrocious. It's a joke. They need to do something, because I think a lot of Spurs fans will end up, you know, going on these online streams and probably watching games, or not even bothering at all. You know, I'm not. It sounds like I'm asking for a fair bit of coverage. But you know, on other games that I've seen, they've had, you know, a fair representation for the clubs. You know, I think there was the Wolves game recently. They had Matt Murray on there, who used to play for Wolves, right? So that's, you know, at least you got a bit of an insight into that particular club. I don't see where Sky's thing for Tottenham is. They get Paul Robinson on every now and then, but I've not seen him cover us at a game. You know, Ledley King's been on a couple of times, but obviously he's an ambassador for the club. Robbie Keane again was on a couple of times, before doing his coaching stuff. But surely there's other people out there that would be happy to sit in a studio and give a Tottenham insight, with Sky, unless they've all got the ump with them as well and don't bother with them. But yeah, like I say, I've had a good rant there. I needed to get it off my chest because it's been bugging me the last few days.
Yeah. But no, I fully agree. I can't stand watching Sky. And as you said, like they always have something bad to say about us. Like I always remember, and I always go back to this, the finale at the Lane. They had Thierry Henry on, didn't they? And then they turned to Thierry Henry. Oh yeah, you've had some good memories here, haven't you? And to be fair to Thierry Henry, and I gained a lot of respect for him for his answer. I don't want to talk about that. It's Tottenham's day, and he actually sort of like backed us up, and but they're still trying to overlook that day, and I just think I think that was my straw where I was like, nah.
Well, you mentioned that, Joe. What about I think when we beat Stoke 4-0 in the year that we were sort of going for the league, really. You've got Cesc Fabregas in the studio. He's openly coming out and saying that, yeah, of course we want to stop Tottenham winning the league, right? But we're not talking about that. We want a bit of analysis or a bit of insight into what's going on in the game. Not the fact that you used to play for Arsenal, you're now at Chelsea, you don't like us. Fair play, you don't like us, but don't try and have a dig at us at every given opportunity. You can have all those digs when you retire, muppet. It's honestly, and like we've said, any chance they get to just put Tottenham down, they do it, and it's really annoying.
Yeah, and I'm just going to pick up on this racism issue as well. Like, obviously, when all that stuff happened around that Chelsea game, they were really hot on it and everything. But a Chelsea player, a Chelsea fan actually got arrested that day for racism. But where's the coverage of that? A Chelsea fan actually got arrested for racially abusing Son.
Yeah.
Nothing said.
No.
I literally did not see one peep from Sky. They just carried on. Oh yeah, Tottenham fans racially abusing Anthony. Where's there isn't anything there, and like plus it's Chelsea, the amount and Chelsea racially abuse everyone, and yet they do it again, and nothing gets said. Nothing gets said. They're just like, oh yeah, look, we're banging it off on Tottenham. Shut up.
The Eric Dyer incident against Norwich, right, where he's jumped into the crowd, right? The first thing that was reported was it was racial. He was sticking up for Jedson Fernandez from a fan being racist towards him. Did they even consider the fact we actually got beat that night? Did the fact we actually got beat on penalties, unfortunately for us, or what subsequently come out that Eric Dyer was protecting a family member who turned out to be his brother? No, the first thing they went to was, again, racist abuse.
They didn't consider anything else. Anything. And to be honest with you, it's a joke. And it's really annoyed me because I had a look earlier and to see, oh yeah, can I watch Tottenham on BT or BBC anytime soon? Nope.
Or even Amazon Prime. Even Amazon Prime.
Exactly. Like every single game, what's being announced as what they're giving TV coverage for at the minute, all on Sky. But I know people without Sky as well, and they're not happy just because they can't watch it. And part of them are like, oh well, I can't watch it. That literally every game. Why are we on there every single game, especially when they hate us? Do you know what I mean? It's just because I bet you every time we're on there, I'm going to be making a note of who's on punditry and everything. And I bet you when we play Arsenal, it'll be like 2 Arsenal players.
100%. 100%.
And it's just I'm sick of it. But that, it's just something what we've got to deal with. And I really don't get why they just hate us with a passion. But all we can do is go out there, put in the performances.
Well, it's like with the other night, you got Redknapp saying that Winks is better than Lo Celso. West Ham have got better footballers in the midfield than Tottenham. Isn't a fan of Lo Celso in that role in midfield. The guy ended up getting man of the match, and then he was proceeding to praise him after the game. It's like, well, make your mind up. You've just outed him before the game, didn't rate him, and now all of a sudden you're talking him up.
That's the thing. That's another. There's no consistency. If they make a mistake or something as well, they'll always try and cover it up, and they'll like. I've heard them like give players stick before, and then they're praising them 2 minutes later. Like not just Lo Celso either. It happens a lot. I just think Sky is just poor. But yeah, like people obviously, if you're listening, let us know in the comments your thoughts on Sky, obviously, and their coverage of Tottenham in general, not just from this game, because obviously me and Wes are sick of it. And hopefully we'll be on BBC, BT, Amazon Prime, or anything else soon. Just
Premier Sports, ITV,
ESPN.
Yeah, literally.
Mate,
But no, yeah, I think Sky's coverage is ridiculous. And as well with that racism incident, you had Gary Neville, who I thought spoke impeccably well at that time. Then Dave Jones, the presenter, got a word in his ear to say that they're the views of Gary Neville and not Sky. Right? Sky are now trying to promote and stand with and all of that kind of thing that goes with that about the Black Lives Matter movement. Yet when they've had somebody who's employed by them who shares his views on racism and everything else, they quash them straight away and then go, no, that's their views. It's nothing to do with us. It's completely down to them. Unbelievable. Yeah. That was unbelievable. Could not believe it.
Yeah, it's just not right at all. But yeah, obviously it's where the money is. That's the problem we've got. That is where the money is. But yeah, as I said, make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments, because I'm sure we'll both be very interested to see if you agree and your thoughts on that as well. But that is it for the review of the West Ham game. Obviously, we went off on a lot of different topics as well today, and we are very, very interested to hear your thoughts on them, the VAR and the Sky. But make sure you leave a like, you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and goodbye, and see you next time. And obviously, up the Spurs.
Up the Spurs.